80 of Jinx. Do I still like Jaekyung? No. But did he make me giggle a bit in this chapter? Yes, he did. So Jaekyung has basically come to the he's come to the conclusion that he needs to do something because Dr. Dan is not getting better, and that's not about to fly on his watch. He doesn't want him to wither away. So he decides that they're going to have a day off and they're going to play games. He took a page out of Dr. Dan's book when they had that game night and did all that. But Dr. Dan is kind of like indifferent to it as well. Like, you don't need to do all this for me just because of my sleepwalking and it's like adherence to you. And Jaekyung is like, no, we're going to do this. I'm taking a page out of your book. You remember how you said that you have to have a rest day? So we're doing it under the guise of he is trying to take care of him. So it's really funny to see like Jaekyung really into these games and stuff. And Dan is just like, whatever. And then he looks at his clothes and he realizes that he needs more clothes. So he orders some, but tells Dan that his PR team gave him some and they just happened to be all the wrong size medium. So he threw out his other clothes too. And he was like, Dan was like, hold up, wait a minute. What'd you throw away? You can't throw away this sweater. My grandma, who's still kicking and alive, gave it to me. So he goes and gets that. He's like, dang, I almost messed up for a second again. Jaekyung said that. I think Jaekyung is also realizing, I don't know why it took you 80 chapters to realize, but Dan is not materialistic. He cherishes things and he's not all about money, 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 even though money is one of his crutches because he's in debt. So he still tells him, yeah, keep it anyways to keep the clothes because he's like, I can't fit them. So that passes. And then he also says, there's also a swimsuit for you in there too. So go, I'll teach you how to swim. When Dan comes out in that swimsuit, Jaekyung is like, jaw drop, jaw drop. So he's teaching him holding on, and Dr. Dan feels for a second that he is nervous, even though he has a flotation device on, that he's gonna fall. And he latches on like a little spider monkey, grabs onto Jaekyung, and they share a moment where they're just looking at each other in shock. And I'm like, are they gonna kiss? Are they gonna kiss? I feel like it's gonna lead to that, but they're not gonna kiss in the next chapter because maybe Jaekyung is really trying to be good. Because it's funny too, because when Jaekyung was like, play with me, Dan was like, do you mean like have sex? And Jaekyung was like, no, the first time they were playing games. But yeah, we're starting to see a kind of normal side to Jaekyung, I guess. Jaekyung went in for that kiss only to get curved and swerved. Chapter 81 of Jinx, and it did like leave us off in the pool where Dr. Dan was afraid he was going to drown even though he has that big ass flotation brick on his back, and Jaekyung couldn't help himself. He was like, he was looking so hot and I'm supposed to be helping him swim, damn it. But Dr. Dan was kind of like, I'm just here to swim, and his ass knew how to swim away from that situation because he was feeling flustered too. So Jaekyung was all lost in himself, like, I need to get it together, and he had to go help Dan because Dan was flailing around and almost drowning at one point. Dr. Dan also says, thanks, but because of you, I've been able to sleep better and less stress. And they have a routine now. So he helps him with something. They go visit Granny. She's still kicking. They go visit the old man. They train. You're slowly getting back to where he is supposed to be. Everywhere except this one area that is hilarious to me. The hottest athlete. And you know who he's up against? This French up-and-coming MMA fighter, Arnaud Gabriel. I hope I'm saying that right. And let's be serious. I don't like Jaekyung, but this man, it looks like he's Boss Baby and they slapped a beard on him to make him seem like grown. And Jaekyung's management and PR team is going crazy over this. Forget all the other stuff. They're like, this is one thing you are not going to lose in: looks and popularity. And you're taller than him? Absolutely not. And Jaekyung does not care. He's like, I don't get why shit is important. Do what you want, but if this interferes with my fighting, which is my main priority, I'm on your asses. But it was just such a hilarious scene, and that's where we leave off, and they're getting slowly back into the rhythm, and Dr. Dan's dark circles are leaving, and hopefully this does help him. This chapter was fun. We're getting back to the fun. Jinx chapter 82. I'm not even going to go in order because there's so many things that I thought were silly. The second that they translate what Boss Baby, aka Arnaud, says, like, and flirts and compliments with Dr. Dan, now Jaekyung is ready to, like, scrap with him. So I guess they have to get him ready for a press conference because, you know, that thing before they do the like little MMA match or boxing, they meet up and they do like the face each other up or whatever you call it. So, what is it? Jaekyung does not give a damn about how he looks, but his team is so on this because they're like, you have to top him. You can't let him outmog you. And I'm like, that's literally not even possible. This is Jaekyung. That's Boss Baby. He's gonna outshow him. So he was like, you know what? Whatever. Just do what you want. And he only like, starts to be compliant once he hears that Dr. Dan agrees with the team that he needs to have like this great, better, bigger image than him. So it comes to the press conference, and of course Boss Baby walks up and he looks like a nice little eligible man, baby, grown up adult with a 401k plan, business deal. But then Jaekyung walks out and all black, team black. He walks out, boom, 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 looking good, looking broad, and they size each other up. And then Boss Baby says something to Jaekyung in French, and he says he looks good and that he cleans up and everything. I feel like Boss Baby is just a natural flirt, and him being French, I guess, I don't know, is that a stereotype for them? But whatever. But he actually seems nice and everything. So while they're walking, he was like, oh, Jaekyung, I won't go easy on you. I know you, blah, blah, blah. So it's just like some little banter. And Jaekyung's like, okay, whatever, because he has a translator. But then the second that Boss Baby sees Dr. Dan, he was like, oh, your eyes, you're so cute. And then he knows it. He peeps. She's like, what do you say to him? And then Dr. Dan was confused, like, do you say the F word to me or something? And then Jack was like, he said, what about him? His ass is jealous. jealous, I tell you. And then they're like, we don't know what's gotten into him. Oh, we know. So they were supposed to also have a moral, the team was supposed to have like a moral spirit, relaxing outing. But whatever the rest of the team ate last night that Dr. Dan and Jae Kyung didn't have, gave them the stomach bug. So one of the managers was on the toilet with the shits and he's like, yeah, we can't go. And Dr. Dan was like, bad news to Jae Kyung. And Jae Kyung was like, well, whatever, it'll just be the two of us. Cause he's like, a date? Let me frame this as it. So he was like, well, just pick whatever. He ends up, because he did not have to do this. They could have just walked to the park. They could have just went to go eat. He picked a theme park. We're getting a theme park unofficial date next chapter. And Dr. Dan was like, this seems like too much. I don't know. And then Jake Young in his head was like, this is going to be fun. You know what? I know I have this great hate for Jake Young, or I just dislike him, but he's actually being kind of tolerable now. Jinx chapter 83. This chapter was so fun, and honestly, it was everything that I expected and more in typical. And it had the typical buff jock who expected to be the tough one and take care of Doc Dan, ends up being the one who's scared of all the rides and getting sick. And Doc Dan in turn is taking care of Jake Young. One moment when I thought was oh so cute was when he was sitting there contemplating, going over how much fun Doc Dan is having. He's like, even though I'm scared as hell, and what kind of sick fuck thinks this is fun? He remembers Doc Dan having fun on the ride and looking like a precious angel baby. He's like, as long as he's having fun, that's okay if he smiles like that. But then he goes, wait, he never smiled at me like that. Is a roller coaster higher up than me? Then he started having beef with the roller coaster. He's the one who also initiated that they got the cute headbands together. Of course, Jake Young got the black ones and then Doc Dan got the white ones. He's the one who initiated snacks. He said, one thing I can do is get this prize. He went over to that hammer game and went bam with full force, got Doc Dan a teddy bear. And also, how could we not have a scene where they're on the, I was supposed to say the escalator, on the Ferris wheel. And of course, there's shaking and moving and it gets stuck. These are all the typical rom-com or, amusement park episodes that you get. And this is when it usually leads to the feelings, the kiss, all that. So we might get in the next chapter. I don't know. I just been smiling this whole chapter. I feel like we finally get to see a calmer side to them, because even though we acknowledge that the trauma has a lot to do, because Dr. was like, I thought all kids got to go on field trips here, and then they both had in their head, not when you're broke. And I'm like, birds of a feather flock together. You guys were both not privileged enough to go, so there's similarities. But I like that we get to see them more relaxed together at that. And Jake Young is trying, even when he made an outburst at Dan, he kind of reeled it back in, and he kind of put Doc Dan first, even though Dan was helping him a lot. And I like that. I like it, you guys. I know I say I'm like Jake Young, but to me, I know he has his traumas too. I don't hate him. I just don't like him. I know I used to say oh, hey, cauliflower dear bitch. But it's just he's getting on the right track. I was in the wrong that day. I'm sorry. I realize this is how Kim Dan has been feeling this whole time. Hell has frozen over. Pigs are flying. The world is ending. Jae Kyung understands, and he acknowledges his wrong and told Doc Dan to his face. Chapter 84 of Jinx. You know what? Hey, as a number one Jae Kyung hater, all I wanted was for Dan to finally get some apology, some acknowledgement. Cause, maybe, thank you, Ferris wheel. Thank you for stopping and getting stuck so we could get all this out. And Jae Kyung really did. He really did mean it. And even his old mentor told him, if you don't change or keep the things the way they are, you're not going to progress and you're going to lose what you really want. Mind you, Jae Kyung wants Dan to stay no matter what. He was even going to try him by hook or crook no matter what. Probably exert his power to get Dan to stay, but he's also trying to turn a new leaf and trying to have empathy and see how things feel in other people's shoes. He acknowledges that. And I think it was when Doc Dan was being thankful and grateful for everything too. He also apologized for throwing the fake Cartier, that gift, for throwing Doc Dan's gift in the trash when his birthday happened. And he acknowledged that. And it's he didn't forget. Also, while they were on the Ferris wheel, what did Jae Kyung say that we did not hear? And in my head, I would like to say, if you're free tomorrow, do you want to go out with me? Or do you want to stay even after the contract is done? Or I like you. I have feelings for you. Either way, Doc Dan did not hear it. He sees the bear and maybe he feels a sense of relief or clarity and kind of shocked that he got an apology from Jae Kyung, while Jae Kyung is over there turning red in the face, don't know how to act, facing the pillow, stressed and stressed, because we know that he's going to have to say whatever he needed to say to Doc Dan again. So there we go. Good chapter. I feel like we needed this. I feel like Jae Kyung needed this. We need to hear it out of his own mouth. Hell has frozen over.